Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength, while mastering yourself is true power. Lao Tzu said that in the Tao Te Ching, and this is just one of the many proverbs from the Tao Te Ching, which is simply the Bible for Taoists. Taoism is a philosophy, if you didn't know. It can be used to help us explore our lives and live with less stress. As all teenagers, we are on a path of self-discovery and constantly living up to the expectations of others. As for me, I felt I had no purpose in life other than to live to the expectations of others. After doing some reading, I found I really enjoy philosophy, and I relate to the main concepts of Taoism. Today, I'll be explaining Taoism, its history, and its main ideas. So, to get started, what is the Tao? Tao literally means the way. It's not an object of worship, and it can be thought of as a river flowing. It's like an energy, but not quite. It surrounds all of us, and it's everywhere. Now, it's taught as if it's spontaneous and random, like nature is. The history of Taoism, picture this. You are Lao Tzu, and you are a sage in ancient China during the Zhou dynasty, which is around 500 BCE. You believe that everyone could live relatively easy together as long as they were more considerate of each other's feelings and they realized their self-interest was not always in the interest of others. Eventually, after becoming impatient with your inability to change people's behaviors and recognizing the corruption in our government, it caused people suffering. And you decided to exile yourself from China. And I'm not going to stop using second person pronouns. Anyways, as Lao Tzu was leaving China through the Western Gate, he stopped by a gatekeeper, Yin Shi, and he recognized Lao Tzu as a sage or a philosopher. And he asked him to write a book before he leaves civilization forever. This book was the Tao Te Ching, and it roughly means the way of integrity, it's roughly translated as. And it's not a scripture or a Bible, even though I said it was, but it's not. But it's similar. It's basically just a book of poetry that presents a simple way of living. It's been debated if this book was even written by Lao Tzu himself. According to Emily Mark's article on worldhistory.org, she says that Lao Tzu probably did not exist, and the Tao Te Ching is a compilation of sayings set down by an unknown scribe. Whether the origin of the book and the belief system originated with a man named Lao Tzu, or if it was written by him, or how immaterial the book itself would agree, and it really just matters that, what it means to people. This is thought to be because of the inclusion of the yin-yang, which came long before Lao Tzu's time. Mark goes on to write, a good reason to believe that Lao Tzu was not the author of the Tao Te Ching was that the core philosophy of Taoism grew up from the peasant class during the Shang dynasty, which is 1600 to 1046 BCE, long before the accepted dates of Lao Tzu. Considering that Lao Tzu may not have been real, it makes sense that some of his ideas were blatantly borrowed from other people's philosophies. And in case if you didn't know, the yin-yang is a symbol that represents opposites in balance. Dark and light, good and evil, life and death, existence, non-existence, and action and non-action. Taoism is known for having the same ideals that life is supposed to be in balance, or harmony. A quote from the Tao Te Ching, Tao engenders one, one engenders two, two engenders three, and three engenders all things. Wow, the camera sucks, Jesus. All things carry the yin while embracing the yang. Neutralizing this energy brings the world into harmony. Basically, what this means is that nature does not recognize the difference between good and evil, life and death, and everything is harmony in nature. There is no labels in nature. There is only the existence of this and its behaviors. Just because it acts good or bad does not necessarily make it a good or a bad thing, but it's all in harmony with each other, making it, best way to describe it is nothingness, in a sense, but everything at the same time. It's confusing. Anyways, next point. Taoism believes that there are no bad people, only people who behave badly. Taoist believes that anyone can be a good person as long as they follow the guidelines of the Tao and if you live in harmony with the earth and everyone. Simplicity, patience, and compassion. These are your three greatest treasures. Simple in action and thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patience with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. Basically, this is another quote from the Tao Te Ching. I'm going to read off a bunch of them from the Tao Te Ching because they're really good lessons. Life is hard and complicated. When we are simple in our actions, we return to a less complicated world, much like how nature is. When you're patient with our friends and enemies, it means that we let nature be as it is. We let them be as their natural selves. It leads to less conflict when we go with what people want. Being compassionate towards yourself is to love yourself. And in knowing yourself, back to the quote we first started with, knowing yourself is true power. Or no, it's mastering yourself is true power. But, where was I? Never go back if you have ADHD. See, this sucks. I'm talking, I'm rambling, I'm crazy. Going with the flow of life is the next lesson we'll be talking about. The Tao invariably takes no action, yet there is nothing left undone. This quote basically explains the concept of wu wei, or non-action. The basic principle is that instead of trying to force something to happen, it will naturally happen to you. Let's say you're trying to find that perfect date. You've been going on many dates for now. You've been, getting yourself out there, going on dating apps or whatever, even though we're in high school, we don't have that. But you've been doing all that, but you haven't been getting dates yet. To put it simply, it's not your time. The way of the Tao basically says that when it's your time, it will come to you naturally, much like a river. You're right here trying to swim upwards toward this date that's right here on this little rock formation, but the Tao is trying to lead you down the river over here, I guess in this area where your date's supposed to be. But you, on the other hand, are right here trying to swim up back to this one. You're swimming, you're resisting the Tao, you're just resisting the natural force of nature. And simply, the effortless way would be to just let the river take you where you're naturally supposed to do. You're supposed to go with the flow of life, and you'll be taken to where you're supposed to be. What I'm trying to get at here is that when the time is right, the date will come to you. And you shouldn't put extra stress and effort into it. When it's ready, it's ready. But right now, you're not ready. And that's one of the key principles of Taoism. Dave Roos on HowStuffWorks.com summarizes it well. He says, that's because the real meaning of Wu Wei is not to do anything that is in accordance with the Tao, the natural order of things. Non-action means swimming with the current instead of going against it, like I just demonstrated here. Or bending with the wind instead of trying to remain rigid. So like the wind's blowing you and you're trying to stay up still, but it's good to just let the wind take you sometimes, Forcefully acting in the meanwhile is like blowing up a mountain, like blowing up this table to get in front of the TV when you can just walk around it. Wow. So, the next point, letting go. A quote from the Tao Te Ching again. If you realize that all things change, there's nothing you'll try to hold on to. If you're not afraid of dying, there's nothing you cannot achieve. So, what this quote is trying to say is that everything will change at one point and another. For instance, let's say we have this blank piece of paper, right? Right now, you only see it as a piece of paper. But remove the labels, you can't see that, ignore that. And you have this beautiful art piece on the same piece of paper. It's the same piece of paper, nothing's really changed about it, yet there's, art. I guess it did change a bit. But the point is that it changes, and we have to embrace these changes. Everything changes. It's true in everything in our universe. Once we accept the fact that things change, it'll help us let go. Resisting change will only bring more suffering. We should just let go and let life take its natural course. So, in conclusion, today, what we learned about the Tao was that it's a flow of natural, spontaneous, universal energy. We also learned about the history of Taoism and how it possibly may not even be written by the guy himself. We also talked about the Tao Te Ching and which it is and it isn't the Taoist Bible. And we also learned about 4 important Taoist teachings: living in harmony, simplicity, patience and compassion, going with the flow of life, and letting go. Before I end, I wanted to talk about some applications of Taoism in the real world. I found an article listed 13 principles for practicing Taoism on the Mindful Stoic, which is written by Colin McRae. I picked out some of the more, applicable ones we can apply to our lives. So this quote: "With care, aid those who are merely extended expressions of our own nature. We are all fundamentally connected. We are all human beings who struggle. Why not help those who need? At the same time, be true to yourself, be authentic, allow yourself to be vulnerable and imperfect. When we are not ourselves, we are resisting the path of the Tao and of our natural state. No one is perfect, and everyone is vulnerable. Connect to the world as you wish to be treated. Live the golden rule, do unto others," which is very self-explanatory. The golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated. "To those unwilling to accept you for who you are, no action is required." Really self-explanatory. "Remember to do unto others what you would do to yourself." Why? That's such a bad angle. Why convince them? You are authentic to yourself, and that's all that matters. Another principle: let go of expectations. The more expectations you have of your life, the less you will accomplish or become. A Taoist lives life without expectations, living fully in the here and now. However, as we know, people need a few expectations as is a part of navigating life. We can practice healthy striving, but like the Stoics, let go of the outcome of your own actions. When we assign labels and expectations to our experiences, we tend to create stress, misery, and suffering. So, for example, you could go to a restaurant with your friends with the expectation that the food's going to suck. You've been there before. They burnt your food, they spit in it, whatever. But you can go in the expectation that you're going to smile and you have a fun time with your friends, and things will be good. And that's a good, phrasing of Taoism. It's with expectations and labels. If you just rid yourself of them, you're going to have a less stressful time. It's in general. Another principle: let go of perfection. Work at being the best you can at whatever you do in life, but also embrace the faults of life and your individual flaws. Imperfections makes us individuals, and imperfections makes us beautiful. Accept the good and bad more accurately. Blur the distinctions between the unhealthy labels of good and bad. Again, this has to do with labels. If you just rid yourself of labels, you live a more easy life. Explore your essence. Learn how to trust your own intuition. Listen to your own heart. If something doesn't feel right, then you need to examine why. Let go of the judgments that held you back and remove conflict and anger from your relationships. If you find yourself in dysfunctional relationships, either set up firm boundaries for yourself or remove yourself from the relationship altogether. Life is too short. Empty your boat while crossing the river of life. So what this one is saying is that if something, is going against your natural flow of life, get rid of it. There's nothing stopping you from living your own life. There's nothing holding you back from being what you want to be and being your natural self. Don't live for the expectations, don't live for the expectations. And finally, and most importantly, be kind to yourself and pace your life to match your own true essence. Self-love is key to self-discovery. Learning to take care of yourself is important. With that in mind, I hope you all can find some sort of meaning in my ramblings of what I've explained to you today. Life can be hard, but having a proper mindset can help you navigate through what is important. And I was going to play some outro music. Cue the outro music. It's been real, y'all. This is Ethan Shaw, signing off for the last time this term. Peace.